there's this website I follow. It's called howlongtobeat.com. Not a very snappy name, but it gets the point across. What they do is they get users to input how much time they spend in a game doing certain things. Like, how long did it take you to platinum this game? How long did it take you to just beat the main story? And how long did it take you to beat the main story and do some of the side quests and stuff? And on How Long to Beat, the highest rated game, because they not only do like the lengths of games, but they also do like user scores, user reviews. And the highest rated game, or one of the highest rated games of all time, in the number 2 slot was The Witcher 3, which is it's a top 5 all-time game for me. I mean, I think The Witcher 3 is the best game to come out this console generation, and I don't think it's very close. I think maybe Overwatch would be in that discussion, but I just think The Witcher is simply the best game to come out this console generation. And if you disagree, you're just wrong. Right? You're just wrong. You're not. It's not a matter of opinion. That game is just. It's good. It's just unreasonably good. You know what I mean? It's not. I'm not a person of reason when I spend 400 hours into that game.
Yeah.
It's so good. So The Witcher 4 was number 2. The number 1 game from the going back 2 console generations, but the number 1 game on that howlongtobeat.com was Persona 4 Golden for the Vita. And when I saw that, it was the user aggregation. So like they just averaged up all the user scores for people who completed it. And it rated like just a point or so, or like a tenth of a point higher than The Witcher 3. And that doesn't matter to me. I don't care about the tenth of the point. But the fact that it was rated so freaking highly, and all the other games on the list I had played. Like all the other games, Combat Evolved, the games that were all rated pretty highly. I had played all these, but Persona 4 Golden was a mystery. I didn't know anything about this game. And so I started looking into it, started reading some stuff. Kotaku, Jason Schreier at Kotaku had a big piece on it when it came out in 2012. And so I read that thing, and it was just exciting me because I like anime. I like Japanese culture. I'm not obsessive with it like a lot of people are, but I enjoy that stuff as an amateur of that knowledge. This is really interesting because I went on the map here, and I went the opposite. I went the left side of the map. You're going on the right. I've never seen this with the leaping frogs. You're fighting a bunch of Greninjas, is what you're doing.
Yeah, essentially.
The pink Greninjas who didn't finish art class because they're still in their pixel art thing where the Greninja and whatever. So, yes, an aggregate convinced me to buy a Vita, convinced me to spend X amount of money on a Vita and this game. But I'm a fan of aggregates. I'm a fan of averaging scores and all that. And that's one thing that I want to talk about. Because there's a lot of, going back to the whole Reddit and Twitter hate, there's a lot of hate on like Metacritic and all that. And I was listening to a podcast not terribly long ago with one of the guys from IGN, Marty Silva, and he scoffed. Like, he was like, I hate Metacritic. Like, he had that response, and it's kind of ironic because IGN was like the publication that popularized putting a number score to something. Like, whenever number scores with games were in the conversation, IGN was the number 1 publication. Like, you didn't think about number scoring a game without thinking about IGN. Right. So it's just ironic. And to his credit, he said like he's not a fan of IGN doing it. But he works there, so he does it. But I'm a fan of Metacritic. Well, I'm a fan of the way I use Metacritic. I can't speak for every idiot out there who uses it inappropriately or improperly, but I'm a fan of Metacritic because at the very least it gives you a general temperature of the critics out there, how they feel about whatever game.
Yeah.
And there's there's a lot of nuance to be had in talking about a game's value or worth. And I'm not a fan of all the shady stuff that happens with Metacritic. Like, I don't know if you know this, but there have been publishers that will go to developers and they say, we will do this kind of contract with you as a developer, your company, if your next game gets this Metascore, if it gets in the upper 80s, like in the upper half of the 80s or in the 90s, we will give you this much money for the game following. And so that's kind of weird and somewhat shady, I guess. But at the same time, they're just using a tool that's out there. So I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that. But the way that I use Metacritic is the way that it should be used. It just gives you a temperature of the way that people feel about the game. Not the users, but the critics, because I frankly trust the critics better than I do just the average user. They tend to be more thought out, even when I disagree with them. I think Metacritic is a fine tool if you use it appropriately. But Steven's having trouble focusing on two things at once, so I think I'm going to take over with the game so he can contribute.
Well, I just don't know what's going on in this game. I'm so
well, of course, they communicate the story just through those photos that you
I mean, but
in those brief cutscenes. That's the long and short of my philosophical agreement with Metacritic use. And I would be interested to hear decent criticisms that I haven't already touched on. The criticisms that I vocalized, that it's people use it in shady ways, that it that it can diminish, or it's arbitrary. I didn't really. Some people say it's arbitrary. It's just useless, I guess, and I disagree with that because I'm using it very appropriately and efficiently. It helps me to decide how I'm spending my time. And what I'm not spending my time on.
Makes sense to me.
Of course it does. And I don't really think you can have a decent argument against that. And if someone does, I would be happy to hear that out and tell them why they're wrong.
Right.
But, no, I'm just being facetious.
Yeah, I didn't even realize there was, criticism and stuff against...
Oh, no, there definitely is.
Metacritic.
There definitely is. Yeah, I see it a lot. And Kotaku folks are just, very against it, which Kotaku folks are against a lot of things.
I mean, I understand. Here's my criticism, is that they don't have a damn app.
They don't have an app, which is stupid.
What year is this? Can someone explain
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
to them how this...
I've been saying for years that they need an app, man. The only good way to get Metacritic scores on an app is if you're looking up a movie on IMDb, because they have them embedded in every movie profile. So you can actually look at the Metascore of a movie on the movie's profile in IMDb. But they don't have an app. They need an app that works exactly like IMDb, where you just search, you can look at developers, you can look at composers through each game, or not just for games, but for movies, music, TV shows, whatever.
Yeah, there's so much potential, untapped potential. That could be...
Another thing that I would want, and I guess I need to check the Google Play Store before I say that I want this thing, but what would be really nice is to have the Giant Bomb wiki, because Giant Bomb has a wiki that is just insanely extensive for gaming, and I don't know if there's an app for that, but let me see. Giant Bomb Video Buddy. That doesn't sound like their wiki. That sounds like a video streaming. Yeah, it definitely is. Enjoy Giant Bomb's videos anytime with the unofficial companion app. Boo boo caca. I don't want that bullshit. I want a wiki app for Giant Bomb, because their wiki is just the best, man. It's better than any Wikipedia. It's better than any other encyclopedia for games. Man, you just got ganked by that T-Rex plant. This is like when we're at work and I smell Wingstop. This is me running into the employee.
The restroom?
Break room. No, I never get Wingstop at work because
diarrhea.
My wife always has my money.
Bitch better have my money.
Steven
Hey,
Earl.
Look, man, these things need to be said. People need to know about it.
I reckon so.